Hello, everyone. This is Jessica Pettit, and who do I have the pleasure of interviewing today?
You have Lisa Danielle Jenkins, all the way from Queens, New York City.
Dr. Lisa.
Dr.
Oh,
Lisa
yeah.
Jenkins, all the way from Queens, New York City.
I am the exact opposite of a first generation college student. So like everyone in my family had PhDs, including my grandparents.
Wow.
So I grew up with a lot of like dissertation talk and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
important.
I did not. I'm the first in my family. So my folks, before they passed, they made such a big deal about anything that had to do with education. So yeah, first for us.
It's a thing, right? And I married a first generation college student who's still basically, even with a PhD, after being a math professor and now a philosophy professor, each for over 10 years,
Wow.
also still feels like an imposter on a college campus. Yeah. So welcome to doing this work, right? Thank you for being here. Are you ready for two open-ended questions about ideas or concepts that are just rolling around in my head?
Take it away, Jess. Whatever you say, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Well, fortunately for you, I ask the same questions every time, but I'm showcasing how different everybody's answers are, even though we all somehow connect or identify as a DEI practitioner, facilitator, teacher, etc. So first concept is literally around diversity dividends. So the first time I thought about this, or the concept came up, was talking to a client about return on investment, right? So that's where dividends comes in. When I say diversity dividend to you, what does that mean or land on you like?
Yeah, diversity dividends mean that people, spaces, and environments will have more creativity in them. Individuals will be able to work together, bounce ideas off of one another. We're all coming from different environments. We've all been socialized in a myriad of different ways. And so when you come to the table based upon your own experiences, based upon your own differences, your own values, sets of beliefs, you cannot help but bring that with you to the table. And when people come together, then brainstorming will just manifest itself into something fantastic, something that would enable individuals to move forward, not just as a group, but as individuals as well. And I think that's what the great thing about diversity is. And I want to say not just diversity, but accepting diversity, because we have diverse spaces that are not always inclusive spaces. We have diverse spaces where people are not always accepting of one another, but they're being tolerated. So I just want to emphasize that the key is for those diverse spaces to have a culture of acceptance so that everyone feels comfortable contributing.
Right. It's so funny, the concept of toleration, tolerance. What word am I trying to say?
The word that you're saying, all three of them.
All of the tolerance is that tolerance is not enough, but the times and spaces where I'm not even tolerated, I will like take step one of tolerance, but know that tolerance is nowhere close to enough.
Right.
And that's when you get into like acceptance and awareness and celebration and inclusion, right? And like just leaving space for something different. That's great. I love that. Okay, other big idea, and this one's a little bit more personal. So in your lifespan, with all the jobs and roles and civic leadership roles and everything that you've done, asterisks, other duties assigned. How has this shown up in your life for possibly good community building pieces, as well as possibly unrewarded labor, emotional or actual physical labor that still burns?
Wow, yeah, my previous experiences have ranged from being a temp secretary when I was in college, working for Fortune 500 companies in Lower Manhattan, investment banking, to human resources, to executive assistant to the president of a college, to now being a senior pastor, faith-based leader. There's been so much that has happened throughout my life that really made me go, But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking one of the earliest things that happened, and I was very young. I'm going to go back to being an intern when I was a senior in high school, if I can go back that far. This was my first job Well,
It's still in the 1900s. It's fine.
okay. This was one of my first jobs. As an intern, like I said, I went to a vocational school. So I was supposed to be doing secretarial work, purely secretarial work. I'm like 17, 18, senior year in high school. And somehow or another, my direct supervisor was out for a few days. And when my direct supervisor, with her being away for a few days, I had to report to a couple of other people who did not want me there. I was so naive. I mean, so naive. And the baseboards of the walls apparently needed cleaning. And so I was asked to clean the baseboards of the walls because they needed cleaning. And my immediate supervisor was not there, and there was apparently nothing for me to do. And so I'm like, what in the world? And so, at that point in time, I'm like, okay, I really need this job. I see you have this look on your face, Jess. So
I don't even clean my baseboards in my own home. I just move.
So, I got the bucket in the water, and I remember getting down there just for like a few minutes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just gonna have to risk this. I cannot do this. So I had the bucket, I had the water, I had the sponge. I had probably cleaned like maybe this much, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can cuss.
This is some asterisks, other duties assigned, if you know what I'm talking about.
So, I can't, I said, I don't feel well. I got to leave. And the next day, my actual supervisor came in because there were some other people that saw what was happening. And my actual supervisor came in and she said, I heard about what happened. I heard about what happened. How dare they? How dare they? And like all hell just broke loose. I mean, just all hell broke loose. So, that was one of the things in my in one of my early jobs. But I mean, there's just been so much also in my own personal life. I got kicked out of, the Baptist church for being an unwed mother. And, the church is supposed to be a place that receives you. And I was kicked out while my son's father, of course, was able to stay in the church because he's a musician, and you know how important music is to the church. And so all of these different things really put me in a place where I have this passion for marginalized individuals overall, people that don't have a voice for themselves, and people who have been ostracized, and people who have not been included or taken advantage of. Right. And so, giving you that example from one of my first job, my first real job, and my personal life being ostracized from a faith-based institution that's supposed to care for people that, have done some things that society or whatever, may not think are too cool. And the Bible says whatever, the interpretation might be, but still, you're supposed to accept people and love them, are you not? That's what I'm saying to myself. So I determined that whatever it is, whether it is having people included, having people feel loved, having people's rights defended, and having them aware of their rights, that no, you don't have to do that particular thing that you have been told by someone to do. All of those things give me a passion to move forward. Yeah.
And I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. And unfortunately, I have 1,000 follow-up questions that I cannot say in this time frame of the podcast that I created. And this is why your voice and your work is so incredibly important. And the whole concept of this is to showcase how our different lived experiences have brought us to this work. And some of that is from our own pain, and some of it is from our own experiences of witnessing other people's pain, and that's what leads to that passion. I have a crush on you. All right. Focus. Okay. My 2 favorite questions. Okay. Are you ready? I'm trying to okay.
I'm ready.
2 favorite questions. First one is, what have you changed your mind about lately?
What have I changed my mind about lately?
For the record, mine is coffee ice cream. I used to be a no-go, and I don't know why all of a sudden it is magic.
You know, honestly, Jess, I could not imagine my mind having been changed about too much lately. I have been consumed with what's going on in our world.
There's a
And if
couple things up.
anything, my passion is deeper more than ever. And I am more convinced than ever that there are systemic atrocities of various kinds. And I call them demonic forces sitting in high places that really need to be dismantled. And so, you know, I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question. I honestly cannot think of anything that's changed. I can only think of things that have not changed, that actually have been illuminated even more so that others can see what's happening and so that I can continue to amplify my voice for those that may not have a voice.
Well, and that's a perfect segue to the other one, and that is, what do you absolutely know?
I absolutely know that we have, when I say we in this country and all over the world, really, as humans, have to do better. We should be evolving. And as humans who should be evolving, that we must understand that if we come together and if we set aside these differences based on social constructs, that we will all become more powerful beings individually and as a society. And so, you know, when I light the candle of someone else, my candle is not going to go out. In fact, my candle is going to flicker even brighter for a few seconds and then continue to burn. And what I think people are afraid of is they're afraid that if one group of people are elevated, then they're going to be erased. And we hear that a lot now with certain groups that say, you know, they're going to be erased. You know, in 20 years, they're going to be the minority, and, you know, we're going to have more people who are brown and Black or what have you. You know, we all will still be able to survive if we just come together. And no matter who the majority is, what group is the majority, that takes nothing away from another group and from that group being able to thrive. And so what I know is that we should be an evolving species of people. And that as an evolving species of people, we should be able to elevate one another, because it is always going to be a win-win situation when we learn to elevate one another, and that doing so will take nothing away from me and mine, but give us everything as humanity, as a group, as a society.
Well said. And a call back to another interview that I just did in this season with Keka Dasgupta was that, what if you actually don't know what you're missing out on? Like, instead of like you're articulating like this zero-sum game, is that what if you just asked yourself of how much better it could be? And I think that gets to your point of like evolving and growing. And there's a scarcity mindset that also could be replaced with possibility, and that possibility is where that opening will happen. It's beautifully said. And we have to pivot to the lightning round now. I don't know how that happens. The lightning round is where I ask you 3 questions from my icebreaker cards. You gave me 3 numbers, so they're either easy, intermediate, or deep, and I will tell you in advance. 3, 12, and 35. So number 3 is an easy question, and that is, what person, living or dead, would you most like to go to lunch with, and what would you talk about?
What person, living or dead, would I most like to go to lunch with and talk about? My mother. My mother is dead. And there are so many things that I would like to talk with her about that I did not get to talk with her about when she was living. So many things that have come up, particularly regarding her time in the Deep South. She was born in 1921 and grew up in the Deep South, segregated, and from what I'm told now, witnessed a lot of atrocities that, in retrospect, give me the ability to understand why she did some of the things that she did, why she acted the way she acted, when I thought that, like, what's going on? Why are you, you know? And I know now from some other family members. I want to sit and talk with her about those things.
Mhm.
I want to talk with her about her life that she was trying to suppress, that she was trying to forget, that she did not want to mention. And I want to let her know that it's okay. Let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How healing that would be for both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 12, if you were able to pick, this is an easy one. If you were able to pick the one thing that always makes you smile, what would that be?
The one thing that always makes me smile, warm peach cobbler with lots of crust.
Oh, I love the crust. Crust is the best part.
No
Yeah.
ice cream. No ice cream on the side. Warm peach cobbler with lots of crust.
Excellent. Excellent. This one came up in another one of the interviews because they're all random. And mine was dogs in cars by themselves sitting in the driver's seat. Every time, it doesn't matter. I could be in the worst mood ever. I see that and I'm like, you don't have a driver's license. It makes it instantly, boom, mood change. Okay. Number 35, deep.
Oh,
How would you most like to be remembered?
That's not deep.
Hmm.
As a person that simply wanted to empower others.
Hmm.
That's my mission wherever I go. That as someone that simply wanted to empower others.
What is interesting is, and as I'm getting to know you and we're friends and colleagues, is that this is a deep question to so many people because they haven't been self-reflective to know what their core mission is. And one of the things that was so captivating as we began to work together is whatever self-work has happened, the clarity that you have of what your legacy is it's a contagious feeling every time I get to work with you. So
interesting. I mean, you said the deep question. I was like, oh my goodness, what is she going to ask? But the first question was deep. And the second question was deep, like, who do I want to have lunch with? What? Yeah, okay, peach cobbler. But this one, it's cut and dry for me.
Nice. I would like to eat lunch with you. That's my
person.
I know.
I would love to have lunch with you as well. Long as we can have peach cobbler warm with lots of crust.
Yes, and the ice cream has to be on the side. I don't like the touchy bits.
Me too.
Right. I know. Yeah. Okay, so I am tolerant of cooked fruit because it usually comes with crust. And I appreciate you being here today. Oh. Dr. Lisa Danielle Jenkins, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, they can get in touch with me by calling 646-797-1976 or LDJ at lisadjenkins.org, O-R-G, not com. There's another lisadjenkins.com. That's not her. That's not me. lisadjenkins.org is the website. I'm on Facebook, Twitter. LinkedIn is the best. So if people want to find out more about my work, they can go to LinkedIn. If they want to find out about the crazy side of me, then they can go to Facebook.
I love the division. Thank you so much for being here and for all of your work. And I truly believe that there will be change because there are all of these folks out there, which is why I'm trying to showcase how many of us there are and how different we all are. So thank you very much for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me, Jess. I appreciate you.
Yay!